Hi, I'm Phil and I like to build stuff. Today I'm starting with a piece of 3/4 inch ply as I begin to build my mobile miter station. I rely really heavily on my sketchbook where I work out a lot of the details and dimensions before I go to cut anything. Then it's pretty easy for me to transfer measurements to a piece in real life. I'm trying out a new fence here that I'm not really sure I like, and I chewed up all the plywood when I did it. So I'll probably just rely on that T that you see in the background. When I removed the end block, I can go ahead and fit this piece on, but I discovered a new problem. The pieces are almost square, except for that I butchered up the one side. So to square it up, I can't put it against my fence. I've got to put it against the sled. I wrote the dimensions down on a piece of blue tape on each of the two boards and marked which way was left and right or up and down so that I didn't screw myself up. Because the pieces are almost square, it's not visually obvious to me, so I need to mark it. If you're kind of playing along, you can look at the piece of blue tape and see that its orientation shows the long and the high part of it. At any rate, after I struggled with that, got the one side square, then I got to use the fence again, which is super easy on this saw, and I really, really like it. I wanted to try out a bunch of new stuff, and so the sled was one of them. That fence was one of them. And in a second here, you're going to see what happens when I try a new insert that I haven't fully tested yet. It doesn't have a way to lock it in, so it ends up shooting out. Another good reminder to never stand behind the blade. If you have a good solution, go ahead and send it off to me or put it in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to keep using the old one. These clean cuts are to make the 22-inch dimension that's going to be the total width of the miter saw stand. Even though the scale that's on the saw is super accurate, I was able to adjust it at one point. I still double check it whenever I put in a new blade and whenever I'm going to do some cuts that are going to be repeatable and I want them to be really accurate. I sped up the stuff that goes well because nobody really cares, I think. If you do, put it in the comments. Because I don't have an in feed or an out feed table on this saw, it's something that I'm going to build in a little while. I'm really struggling, you can see here with the sled. Once I get both rails engaged, it really moves super smooth and I can easily guide it through. It is really satisfying when you get about midway through. You can kind of see here how off a square it is. If you look in the back, you can see the line where the saw comes through the back and in the front where the saw blade is actually hitting it. So I'm shaving off a little sliver, but it really makes a difference to have it perfectly square. That wobble's just going to bug me for now. Until I get better at my initial cuts, I'm going to always cut twice to make sure that I got both sides parallel to each other. Right here, I'm realizing that I'm probably just going to make the whole thing a little less tall, tiny bit, eighth of an inch, because I screwed up the edge. But you know what? I'm really happy with my first day. Thanks for watching.